Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships, as we are doing a bit of a special edition video today on this Tuesday, doing an upgrade in Commander build, following yesterday's video, the Repulse. So today's video is going to be on the Repulse, the Tier 6 premium British battleship, battlecruiser. That is a smashing good time and just a lot of fun with this ship in general. So the Repulse was, for those who are watching this maybe later down the line in the future, was a ship that you could pick up in the Dockyard event for the Marlborough. Imagine at some point World of Warships Wargaming will probably release this ship for sale a year or two from now, maybe something like that. I foresee them doing that at some point with Dockyard ships in general. But the Repulse is a fantastic ship, so we're going to first discuss what type of battleship are we talking about. And the Repulse goes into the Battlecruiser category. Sometimes when I'm talking about battleship class, we're talking about sniper, brawling, or more of a mid-range. And then you have Battlecruiser, which can look like a lot of different categories. But to me, the Repulse is more of a mid-range Battlecruiser type of ship. You don't want to get too close because her main weakness is her armor. If you saw in yesterday's video, it just got blapped into oblivion. So being at tier 6, we got the 16 millimeter bow and stern plating. But when we look at the side, you kind of see there's a lot of different little things going on here when we're looking at the side armor. So we're going to strip away some things so we can see the citadel. And the citadel is really long in this ship. It's even got a lot of different platings here. So torpedo bulkhead. So the citadel is really long. If you were paying attention closely in the beginning clip of yesterday's battle, or in the very beginning, I gave a clip of a separate battle of just getting slapped by an Ismail. And he landed all of his shots back here. And that's because your citadel is ridiculously long on the Repulse, but Wargaming was trying to balance it in some way. And so he just punched through all here and just wrecked me for 36,000 damage. Repulse is a ship that you do not want to be showing a lot of this side to. You want to be angled in a lot because if not, you're going to find yourself hurting pretty badly. I mean, you can see this armor belt, 152 millimeter. Then you get this higher 38, and then you get your side plating for torpedo protection. So that is the biggest weakness on this ship. If you show too much angle, show too much side, even trying to get the rear turret off, you will be punished for it. So you have to be very conscious of how much side you're presenting and making sure you're not overextending yourself and getting caught in a crossfire where something like an Ismail just slaps you for all your health. So we're going to look at the modules. First up, we've got these 381 millimeter guns. They have a reload time of 27 seconds, 180 degree turn time of 25 seconds. So really good. You can see you have really good HE shell damage and AP shell damage on these guns. The hull, 56,100 health pool, really good. Looking at the gunfire control system, we have a main battery firing range of 19.8, which can be extended with a spotting aircraft. And then looking at the propulsion, 119,025 horsepower with a maximum speed of 31.7 knots. But let's just briefly talk about that speed. Let's throw on a Sierra Mike flag, ship speed plus 5%. And you're going to see that go up to 33.3 knots now, right? And we haven't even talked about the engine boost. Or a commander skill known as Brisk. So let's first go into upgrades. You have multiple options here. I like the main armaments modification 1 primarily because you only have 3 turrets, 6 guns in total, and what the main armaments modification 1 does is that it reduces the risk of your main battery becoming incapacitated by negative 20%, but also improves the survivability of the main battery by plus 50%, and if they should be knocked out, the main battery repair time is reduced by negative 20%. Repulse will begin to suffer a lot because she doesn't have like these fantastic secondaries per se. They're meh, And so if you lose a turret, you know, a third of your firepower has been cut in half. And if you're having to stay bow or angled in, and it's one of your front two turrets, so the one's firing, then half of your firepower instantly gone, right? So I like increasing the survivability of the main battery. You have the auxiliary armaments modification 1. You know, your secondaries aren't the best. You don't have great AA. Your AA pretty much sucks. And you can find that often across mid-tier battleships. Repulse is not an exception there. Risk of your ship's magazine detonating, the magazine modification. If you're playing ranked clan battles, random battles, and you can afford it, ideally you want to be running the Juliet Charlie combat signal, which completely limits risk of your ship's magazine detonating. They're expensive combat signals, but they can be a difference between maybe winning or losing a match, so I often run them. I don't run them in co-op battles, as an example. You also have the special upgrades. Spotting aircraft extends the action time of your spotter up in the air. And then the damage control party modification 1 increases the action time of the damage control party by plus 40%. These are, it's not really worth it because, again, I believe in trying to do anything you can to increase the protection and survivability of your main battery here. So for slot 2, if you cannot afford with coal the special upgrade, the engine boost modification 1, which I'll talk about here in a moment, I would recommend going for the damage control system modification 1. Reduces the risk of catching fire by -5%, risk of flooding -3%. That's just a standard good battleship skill to have. You also have the engine room protection, but I haven't found myself in a situation where I find my engine being knocked out. Maybe I think once I've had my steering gears knocked out, but that was just due to taking a torpedo in the rear. But the engine boost modification is really what I've gone for because this is a really strong, I don't know if I want to say so much of a gimmick for the ship, because it increases the action time of your engine boost by plus 30%. So you can access this skill. Usually, if you don't have it, you just click on it and it'll take you into the armory. So I'll show you where that is real quick and give you some advice on obtaining this unique upgrade. So you go into customizations, and then we'll go to view this category, and the engine boost is right here, or sorry, special upgrade. And you can get it for 25% off with a coupon for 12,750 coal instead of 17,000 coal. So I always make sure to try to use this coupon every month, and I recommend getting a special upgrade with using this coupon because it's really helpful. So this is where you will find it in the armory. And yeah, covered everything there. For slot 3, you have 4 options. You have the main battery modification 2, which improves your main battery traverse speed. Right now, your main battery, I have a commander skill on helping this to get it down to 25 seconds. 25 seconds is where it's at. So for me, it's not that big of a deal. I just always try to be mindful of getting my turrets onto the target direction I want to shoot in advance, and then utilize the right mouse key with free look while my turrets are still focused in the direction I want them to be. I also have secondary battery modification. Your secondaries, as there are right now, with the aiming systems modification 1 in mind, have a range of 5.2. So you extend the range, and what is the reload time on these even? 4 seconds? It's not, you don't take this ship for secondaries. You have other ships at tier 6 even that play the secondary role better. I don't recommend getting this skill. You have A-Guns modification 1. Your AA sucks on the Repulse, and because of that 4-kilometer range, and you can see it in terms of A defense, it's 41, and it kind of ranks rather low. It just doesn't have the most going for it when we're looking at the shell damage. Short range AA sector, medium range, long range 28. I mean, it's not good. But what is really good is the aiming systems modification 1. And that is because primarily of the maximum main battery shell dispersion that you get with it that reduces by -7%. One of the things that Wargaming did with Repulse, because it is a tier 6 battleship with only 6 guns, is that they gave this battlecruiser dispersion. And when we say battlecruiser dispersion in the game of World of Warships, usually that means you get really good accuracy with your main battery. And you have that with the Repulse. And so for myself, I like buffing that even a little bit more to get a better shell dispersion, more accurate salvos. And in yesterday's video, which I'll link at the end of this video if you haven't seen it, you can see we did some really good damage and we got some accurate salvos in. And you get a little buff to your secondaries, so take that for what it's worth. For slot 4, you have a few options here. You have a damage control system modification 2, which is what I've elected to take because it accelerates the fire extinguishing and recovery from flooding by negative 15%. So for me, I like trying to improve the survivability, the tankiness per se. I can't really you can't even refer to Repulse as a tanky battleship. It's not. So what I would like to do is if I can protect the health pool as much as possible, take less damage, then for me, the damage control system modification 2 is a no-brainer in my mind. With the Repulse, from my understanding, well, I'm not sure. I don't remember now. I might be mixing this up with the Incomparable, but you kind of had a built-in the British engine propulsion, which I think actually was on the Incomparable. I don't think that was on the Repulse, but I could be mistaken. And for me, again, I would rather focus on protecting my health pool, survivability. It's still gold in my mind. When we look at maneuverability, you have a rudder shift time of 14.4 seconds and a turn in circle radius of 860 meters. It's not the best. The rudder shift time is just not there. So you could boost this if you wanted to with this upgrade, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd still recommend this. The fact that you have the engine boost, and then like I talked about in yesterday's video, cutting the throttle, turning in kind of helps with your turning circle radius not be so terrible if you're going full speed. And so that helps in terms of getting across the map rather well, because there's a lot of tier 6 battleships that are like 22, 23 knot speed, and Repulse just beats them all. She's the fastest tier 6 battleship presently in the game as of update 11.1, and so you really get to have a lot of fun with the Repulse in that regard. You have airstrike modification. This is for submarines, not worth it. Still go damage control system modification 2. For me, I would say it's the clear winner in this category. In terms of consumables, you get a standard damage control party, 15-second action time, reload time of 80 seconds, so a minute 20. You get the repair party, HP per second plus 280. We can buff this with the India Delta combat signal, and so we go from 280 up to 336. So really nice. Action time 28 seconds, reload time 80 seconds. I think with the commander skill I don't have yet, we'll be buffing this a little bit more. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. Yeah, spotting aircraft, you don't get to switch it out for a fighter, just spotting. And this is really helpful because it helps you land more accurate salvos sometimes, especially at range. I've been told that my understanding in the game of World of Warships, if you pop a spotting aircraft, it tightens your dispersion, or it's the ellipse, that's what they refer to it as, that your salvo will fall under. If I'm mistaken there, someone can correct me in comments, but this is something that I've heard some of the more notable YouTubers, content creators of World of Warships talk about, of the better clans. So you can get a little perk there with that. And then you have engine boost. This is a lot of fun on the Repulse. So I will do a quick calculation with my phone here and see what type of speed we're talking about. Keep in mind we have the engine or the Sierra mic flag mounted right now. So we get to add 2.66. So 2.66 plus the 33.3. So with engine boost going, we get up to 35.96 knots. So basically 36 knots. Okay, we're just going to call it for 36 knots for simplicity's sake. And we're going to even boost this even more with the commander. So let's go ahead and dive into Cap, who I run on my Repulse. I mainly actually have him on my Daring, tier 10 British destroyer, but I now run him also on the Repulse because it's a premium ship. I can move him over at no cost. And when we're talking about speed while we're on the subject, you get this skill Brisk. Increases your ship's speed while she remains undetected by plus 10%. So 36 times 10. Now you're at 3.6, okay? So you're almost pushing 40 knots in the Repulse, 39.6 knots. And so there is no other tier 6 battleship in the game that goes that fast. You will find very few destroyers and even very few cruisers in the game that can go this fast. So it's a bit of a fun build because you have actually really good concealment on the Repulse, 12.6 kilometers, and then by air, 8.7. So, I mean, you probably even saw in yesterday's clip, there were multiple times that the Brisk activates even when you go behind an island, as an example. So that's a lot of fun to get almost 40 knots out of the Repulse. So let's start off by talking about how would I build a 10-point commander build on the Repulse. First, I would go for the gun feeder. Time taken to switch between shell type is negative 50%. Because your reload time is 27 seconds, so that means in 13.5 seconds, I can switch between AP and HE. You know, maybe you've dealt with the cruisers and the battleships, now there's a destroyer running around, and so just being able to switch for quicker is nice. After that, there's two ways you could go. Let's just go the route that maybe makes most sense in the beginning. For a 3-point commander, I would probably take Grease the Gears first. This improves your main battery traverse speed. That is how you reach the 25-second, 180-degree turn time. So I would recommend taking that as a 3-pointer. For a 6-pointer, I'd recommend taking Adrenaline Rush. This for each 1% of HP lost on your ship, it'll enhance certain parameters of your ship. For example, the main battery reload time is reduced, your secondary battery reload time is reduced, your continuous AA damage is increased there. So you're really taking this primarily for the main battery, because then instead of having 27-second reload time, you're getting down to 26.5, 26, maybe even 25.8 something as an example. So you're pumping out even more DPM as you lose health. And then for 10-point, I went for the Concealment Expert first. Keep in mind that I already had this commander as a high point, but I would rock it down this way to get to that 12.6 kilometer, because your armor is so weak on the Repulse that sometimes you need to be able to disengage from the battle, and having good concealment helps. Getting into a position with good concealment before you get detected is also helpful. So I would, for 10-point, that would be the route I would go for first. And then for a 14-point build, I would then take Fire Prevention. Defense skill reduces the risk of catching fire, and the maximum number of fires on the ship is reduced to 3. So the risk of catching fire is negative 10%, which is nice, but the maximum number of fires is -1. So if you're a newer player here, let me just explain this to you real quick. Maybe you're like, well, I never get more than 3 fires on my ship. Why would I take this? It's not so much the limitation of number of fires, it's where they limit those fires to. So right now, you get a fire on the bow, and you get one on the forward part of superstructure, one on the rear part of superstructure, and then one on the stern. Fire Prevention takes the 2 fires you would get on the superstructure and combines it into just 1. Not that you're burning double damage in 1 fire, you only just have 1 fire instead of 2 fires burning. So that also means you're protecting your health pool, increasing your survivability. So that is why Fire Prevention is really good for the Repulse in pretty much any battleship in general. So if that's how I would do a 14-point build. And then for a 16-point build, then I would go for Brisk. So you get that additional 10% speed when you are undetected. Also, it's really helpful if, let's say, your team obliterates a flank, and then you got to get to the other flank to help your team out. You are like one of the fastest ships. You're the fastest battleship, but you're one of the fastest ships in the game at tier 6 to be able to relocate across the map to help your team out. So that is what a 16-point build looks like. You can see I have a 19-point build right now, Commander. What I'm saving up for is once I get to a 20-point build, I'm going to take the Emergency Repair Expert, and it extends the action time of the Damage Control Party consumable by plus 10%. And then the Repair Party consumable action time is also increased by 10%. And then the number of Repair Party consumable charges you get goes from 3 to 4. So that is actually really nice here on the Repulse. So this is what I would recommend. And then that would leave you ultimately with 1 point left to reach the 21-point Commander. And probably what I'd recommend is going for the preventative maintenance. What this does is it reduces the risk of modules from becoming incapacitated by negative 30%. And mainly why I have this in mind is for the main turrets. Because when you lose, one of your main turrets gets incapacitated, or hopefully doesn't get perma incapacitated, is you lose a lot of your firepower in Repulse when you lose a turret. So I would like to increase the survivability and protection of my main battery. Not to mention you get a little boost there on your protection on the steering gears and your engine as well. So this is what I plan to take as a 21-point Commander on the Repulse. As far as other possible build options go, you could, if the brisk thing isn't a big deal to you, like you don't think it's all cool, you could drop brisk, and then that would mean you have 3 points after you've taken Emergency Repair Expert, and you could pick up Basics of Survivability. Your module restoration time is reduced by negative 15%, and fire extinguishing time and flooding recovery time is reduced by negative 15% as well. So just drop brisk and take the Basics of Survivability. That is a way you could go. Another build route, let's say you don't care for preventive maintenance. If I were to recommend one of these others, probably would be the Emergency Repair Specialist. The reload time of your Damage Control Party was reduced by negative 3%. Repair Party consumable reload time is also reduced by negative 3%. But keep in mind, it's only by a few seconds, like 3-4 seconds is all you're shaving off in total. It's nice that you're getting your DCP and your Repair Party back up that quickly, but I still lean more towards preventive maintenance now. But this is another option, another route you could go. As far as investing in anything regarding AA, I would say no, because the AA sucks on the Repulse. I mean, you saw even the, that's artillery. You saw even the long range is 28. 28. That's terrible. So you can't make it look any better. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. Let's say that you still don't want brisk, but you would like to maybe pick up priority target. You could pick up priority target and then go for preventive maintenance as an example. As far as any other type of builds, I don't think I see it. I don't see it. No. So I would recommend this build. I'd recommend dropping brisk, pick up Basics of Survivability. Alternatively, you could also drop brisk, pick up priority target, and still go preventive maintenance. Or you could do something like this. So I feel like those are the most viable build options in my mind when I'm looking at the Repulse. I'm not going to go into all the other skills. If you have a question why I don't recommend any of these other skills, just let me know in the comments and I can respond to you there. That is no problem at all. So yeah, another thing I was going to mention real quick is your fire chance is 34%. That's nice when you are bottom tier. I had a bottom tier match last night, and I'm recording this video on Friday. And I was in a battle taking on a Brandenburg and a Massachusetts, and I just focused on kiting and setting them on fire. And I could easily get away from both because I have an engine boost, and I am very fast even at tier 8 when I'm going against tier 8 battleships. Still really strong there in speed. So yeah, so that's going to wrap the video up. So if you liked today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you did not, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. And there'll be the video, if you didn't catch the battle I had in Repulse, it'll be here on the side of the screen for you to check out. So until next time, take care.